I'm ready.
Okay, so repeat your question.
So my question is, by that logic, it leads me to ask you, because it seems like what you're postulating is that you don't believe that depression is real as a mental illness.
Okay. You you're I'm actually glad that you say that. Um because it, I don't want to say that I don't believe that depression is a mental illness because I don't want to because that's not true because you know what I hate to admit this, but I go through it too. You know, like whatever. I've had bad breakups. And I'm not saying like I've gotten dumped, and I'm not saying this to sound cool or bad. Swear to God, I swear on whatever my dog's grave. You know, I've had to tear relationships apart myself just because my anxiety. It's nuts. I mean, I had, believe it or not, I actually just had anxiety today. And I'm gonna admit this because I told Temp earlier today that I wanted him, but I said everyone, but I meant mostly him to wait for me for the new content. And then when I come back from like the dinner, I was already annoyed because I had to go, and I come back and I hear like Zyke's like, oh, I'm recruiting for the first dungeon. Anyone want to come? And I was just like, all right, wow, they went without me. I'm being left behind again, just like Heaven Sword. I got like whatever. I got beat up. My anxiety was kicking in. I was looking forward to hanging out all day, and I just felt like left out. And that's why I was gone for so long because I just had to be alone to get over it.
Sure.
So you're asking me, do I believe that it's a poor excuse for a mental condition? Logically speaking, I want to say yes, but I go through it. I'm not gonna say I go through depression because I'm not gonna whatever. I'm not gonna claim to be some kind of victim. I have anxiety, and maybe you've heard cases of me before, just going through some rare shit. Maybe I don't know. It happens.
I also agree you have anxiety.
How do you figure though? If you don't mind me asking, just because I don't think many people know about that, but I'm just curious to see it to know how you see it.
You have anxiety over pleasing everyone. You want to, especially with it's something you create, like a game or something, because you create a lot of game-like things. You obsess over pleasing everyone. Like, you want everybody to be happy, whether it's like 21 Smackjack or Dungeon. Those are just the prime examples that I'm pulling from. But there are lots of other minor examples too. Those are just the big ones. And like, you want everyone to be happy. You get super, like, I'll say ticked, but like, you get super anxious and nervous almost when somebody is not pleased and not happy with what you've made or what you've created for them.
You nailed it on the head, actually. Yes. Well, and that's why I've actually really considered just like leaving. Remember when I wanted to take that break and I didn't?
Yep.
VNO. Like if
And I think
yeah.
I think this recent thing with not Heavensward, with Stormblood actually ties back to that too. Because even though it's not like a game you created, it was a plan that you had created in your mind. You had this plan that you created that we would do everything together. Like, mainly you and Tim, but other people too. You had this plan in your mind that we would experience all this content together, and that stems under the like header of something you created. You created this plan that we would do all this together, and when that didn't happen, you got super nervous about it, or super anxious about it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So to go back to your question, I don't mean to bring things about me. I'm just basically all I was doing when I was circling around your question is saying that I am what's the word I'm looking for? I am flawed, I guess. I'm trying to think of a better word, but I have issues. So
Sure.
to answer your questions, like I want to say no. I want to say I don't think depression is an actual mental disability just because what's your name? Kinetic?
Yep.
Okay, Kinetic. I'm sorry because you have your name changed and like I'm like I knew it was Kinetic, but like I know your voice, but like you have
Yeah,
your name
it's all
changed,
right.
so I'm just making sure. When you were like oh when you think of things logically, you don't see things like everybody else, and you're right. It's like I want to say the cynical Pat side of me wants to say I don't think it's a legit depression is a legit mental disorder. I think it's an excuse. I think people are just being stupid, and I think that everyone should just get over it. But I can't say that because then I'd be a hypocrite.
Indeed.
So to answer your question, I guess I'll say yes. Um, yeah, no, because you're that was a very good question to ask, like, because you're right. Normally I would be like, get over it. Like, I mean, hell, I did that to you. I did that to Drax. I don't really treat people that way. Like, I don't treat people emotionally. The only person I ever do it to is Temp, but that's after hours of fighting until I realize, fine, you're right. I'm being a dick. I'm being cynical about it.
So I'm gonna judge you here for a moment. It like hopefully you won't get too mad at me about this.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
but how I think this can you can think about this is that you think, or at least you're saying, people who are in that bad place, that depressive place where they want to kill themselves, like they're weak. That's what you're saying. But perhaps if you like, I can understand and totally respect the fact that you're not good at sympathizing with others or giving emotional support. And I think it's important that you recognize, sure, like Chronicosity, am not good at giving emotional support, but that doesn't necessarily mean that someone is weak. It may mean they have depression, since you have just acknowledged like we've just gone through the logical process of you've acknowledged that depression can be a mental disorder.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily always mean someone's weak.
You're
So
right.
I think it would be important for you to not always jump to the conclusion that someone is weak or begging for attention, but just accept the fact that you are not necessarily good at giving support in those situations.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. No, I mean, even in like my real life relationships, when we got into fights, it was always, you're doing this thing. Stop doing this thing. You're being retarded. And then whatever, when it fell apart, I was just like, fuck it. Like, whatever. I don't want to dump you, but I'm dumping you. And whatever, I was super depressed. But like, you're right. Yeah, I don't handle those situations well, which is why I think when I argue with people, and to be honest with you, is like my meeting you was like the worst possible thing. I'm sorry. I guess I should say sorry. I don't know if I ever did say sorry for that, but like,
And best bet was when you met me.
I met you through that
The
Skype group.
worst. Oh, I was gonna say, didn't we meet each other at christianmingle.com?
No, it was black people meet.
Oh, right, it was blackpeoplemingle.com. Got it. Thanks.
I love that black sack. And anyways, no, but no, yeah. So sorry is like, cause like I literally, like, it's not even an exaggeration. I'm pretty sure you started out with I tried killing myself recently, and I just said, that's retarded. I hope you don't expect sympathy from me. And I that's like the worst way I could have possibly, first met you. But I'm sorry.
I appreciate it, even after these 2 years, something like that.
3, I think.
3? Okay, wow. I think, don't let me tell you how to live your life.
Mhm.
But if I were in that situation, and like Zyke comes up to me acting as Chronicosity, hey, like, I'm in a really dark place. I'm dealing with depression, suicidal thoughts. I think the proper thing, or the better thing for you to say in that situation was like, I'm not good at giving emotional support.
Yeah.
I respect that you may or may not have issues. I'm not the person to talk with about them.
Yeah. Well, you know what's, and I hate to keep like segueing into personal stories, but I never really get to talk about it. I hope this is okay with everybody, if that's fine. If I
Yeah,
can-
not hearing any
go on.
objections.
Well, yeah, no, I just hate sounding like conceited or whatever. But like, you know what, Zyke, and you can ask Temp. I don't know if he's here, but you can ask him for proof. And hell, even Leon, I think actually. Back then in AO, I used to approach people in a supportive way. I used to be like, hey, what's wrong? We can get through it together, yada yada. I tried, but the more I realized that internet people, especially, they're fucking idiots. They're just like internet attention grabbers. They're illogical. They don't use like sense, and they don't have to listen. They don't want to listen to what you have to say. They just want to feel good. It just, years of that has made me so cynical to the point where I just don't put up with it anymore.
I can understand that, and I feel like I totally understand what you're saying. And I think it's important to note that there are people who have seemingly limitless amounts of patience for people with that sort of things. Even if they're just looking for attention, even if they're making things up to look for attention, there are people who enjoy giving support for whatever the problem may be. And you and I are just not good at that. You are slightly worse than I am at it. But
Well, what makes you say that about you?
well, because I've been in situations before where I've seen both people who actually do have issues, and I've tried to support them as best as possible, and people who are frankly just looking for attention. And like the first thing I always tell people if they come to me and for that sort of thing is, I'm a logical person. I'm not an emotional person. I will help you as best I can, but the things I tell you may not always be helpful. I'm not going to put you down or anything. I'll try and support you, but I'm not an emotional person. I will support you with logic, and I won't put you down or anything.
Okay. You see that? Then maybe I should take your advice. Yeah, I think because I will. You know what? You're absolutely right. It's like what you're doing, what you just said that you do is great. That's the right thing to do. You're doing something I should be doing. If I'm to be honest, if there was any reason for me not to do what you said, even though you just suggested it to me, it would be out of pride. I would be too prideful to be like that I'm not good at it, and I would try to tackle the issue with my own logic. And I'm not gonna. I'll admit it. I can be pretty prideful.
Yeah. Hey, that's fine. That's fine.
I'll go out and say that right now. You're absolutely right. You are 100% right. I'm gonna consider your advice, and your advice is sound. Absolutely. I'm just prideful.
Like 3 months ago or something like that. Like this chick that I used to know when I was in high school. She's younger than I am, and she is most certainly one of those who's like thinks she's depressed, thinks she's suicidal just because she wants attention. I know it. I've known it ever since I've known her. That's why I didn't really date her that seriously when I did, and when I needed attention back when I was in high school.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
I went on 2 dates with her when I was in high school, and then I realized that this bitch just wants attention. I'm not that I cannot give the endless amounts of attention she
wants. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But like she came to me 3 months ago. She texted me whatever, and was like that again. And I was just like, I didn't say you're retarded, you're just wanting attention, because that's not helpful. I just said, I'm not good at this. I think you may need to examine yourself a bit more and really look at your surroundings and take a close examination of your life and evaluate what's going good and what's going bad for you, and realize that this is just something you're going to need to work through. It'll be something you'll grow out of if you really examine yourself, and I'll be here to help support you logically, but I'm not going to give you that endless emotional support, because that's not the person who I am. I will help you examine your life and examine your situation to help you see more clearly.
Right. Okay.
But I am not going to be able to give you some endless emotional support.
I completely understand. And in that situation, for a girl who endlessly wants it doesn't sound like she'll ever be how to say full. She'll never be pleased. It doesn't seem like.
Yeah, but at least that way I can try and help someone,
right? Without
saying you're retarded, you're just fake, and also without trying to give them endless amounts of tension that won't ever help them.
Exactly. Okay. You know what?
See, that's the way that I suggest, because you and I think that way. When we're in that sort of situation, we think the same.
Right.
And so that's why I'm suggesting this sort of approach to you. Is maybe either you can tell someone if you don't want to help them, then just be like, I don't have the proper skill set to help you with what you need because I'm not an emotional person.
You're right.
Or if you're feeling sociable or want to help the person or whatever, then you can say, I'm not an emotional person. I won't be able to give you this kind of emotional sympathy or empathy.
Yeah.
But I can help you work through it from a logical perspective.
You see, and I'm glad you said that, because here's where I could be a complete dick. And this is towards, I'm a nice person. I might come off as a huge dick in terms of logic, but I like to think that I treat everyone really nicely if I like them. If someone I don't like is coming up to me like they do you, and I don't like them, my initial response is to be a dick. I'm not gonna say that I don't have what it takes or I don't want to help you. I am so stubborn and a bit prideful that I'll just be like, I'll be like, what you're doing is stupid, whatever. Like what I did to you, basically. Like instead of saying, oh, brushing it off or being like, I don't know what to do. I just told you you're retarded. Because I was immediately annoyed at what you had to say. Do you know why I was annoyed at what you had to say? Because you immediately flashed me back to AO and those kinds of people. So my immediate response, instead of being a nice guy, is you're retarded, and I'm not going to be sympathetic towards you.
But you do understand that gives off a bad impression of you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And because of me saying that, I immediately felt bad afterwards. And because of my, how to say, what should we call it? My anxiety tick. What's my, you know what I'm trying to say?
Anxiety?
No, well, like, because of my guilt complex, I guess? Like, me wanting to get along with everybody and me wanting everything to go okay, I felt bad afterwards, and, I tried to be nice to you. And we're friends. We made up really quickly. Like, you took it pretty well, to be honest with you. And look at you now, we're all, where it's great. And I like to think that through fighting games and through just inviting you to so many things, like, you became I helped you become a part of the gang, get out of that cynical shell of yours. In my opinion, you could tell me that that I'm wrong, but
it was a lot of things that got me out of that cynical shell. A lot of it was just growing up.
Sure.
Like,
well, I mean, as far as being a part of the community.
Yeah. Like, for me, that was how the edgy teenager phase
just ended.
Not necessarily ended. That's how it manifested in me, was just being really cynical to everyone.
Okay.
And being like, I'm smarter than you. I can outwit anybody any day of the week. Like, and being super cynical about things. That's how, like, that edgy teenage rebellious phase took hold with me.
Okay.
And a lot of that was just, like, growing up and being around people more often. And,
sure.
Well,
because, like, I immediately knew that you were a good role player. Because you give up. I mean, hell, me and you have so many, like, weird, how to say, mindsets on acting and performing. And, I mean, hell, when I was talking about cosplaying, I was saying, like, I want to be the best one there. I don't have any competition. You're like, I like the way you think. And I'm like, yeah, of course, because when you're cosplaying, you want the attention. So it's a competition. It's a competition for attention. So me and you have that mindset. So I immediately knew that you were a great RPer. And I immediately knew, like, the things that you could do and things that you wanted to do. So I just invited you to those things. Fighting games was an accident. I didn't mean to be like. I don't even know how I remember I showed you Third Strike.
Do you want to know how it happened?
Do you remember and I don't?
I remember exactly how it happened.
Okay, go on.
Fiercey was asking you about Third Strike.
Yes. And
I said, "What's Third Strike?" And you said, "Oh, it's this fighting game that we play," and then you gave me Fightcade. Yes. And the only reason I did it was because at that point in time, I hated Fiercey with every single fiber of my being, and I wanted to do anything and everything possible to be able to beat him at anything I could. And
that's why you asked me to train you, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember now. I actually think you said it. I think I was like, you were like, I want you to teach me. You just straight up asked me. I think you penned me. You're like, I want you to teach me Third Strike. Like, you didn't beat around the bush. You were just like, I want you to teach me Third Strike. And I'm like, oh, I may have asked what got your motivation, and you were like, you just flat out said, I want to beat Fiercey.
Yep.
I remember that. And then I tried teaching you some. I taught you a little bit, but to be honest with you, a lot of it you picked up from learning from your bad habits. That's what I think happened. Because you were doing short use all the time.
Yep, it's still a bad habit of mine.
Yeah, I know.
It's unfortunate because I started with Kin in Third Strike. It builds that bad habit of, yeah, short use safe. Short use always safe.
Yeah. He has to respect the 7th time. But yeah, no, but so yeah, absolutely. No, but that's why when I did that to you, like when I was just like, whatever, I was being a total dick to you, I felt bad immediately and I tried to make it up because like I don't do that to everybody, like I don't just do that to people, but you just you starting out with, yeah, I just tried to kill myself, and being so like how do I say
Open about it.
open about it, but like you were also very sure of it. Like your inflection was just like, yeah, it happened. So what? Like, you know, it happened. I did it. You know, you weren't sad about it. You were, you know what you did, and you just blurted it out. And I don't know, that just rubbed me the wrong way, because it's like, I'm suicidal, I'm a coward, and I'm weak, and I just say it like it means nothing to me. And that just got me like even more mad. So I went and I said that to you.
See, at that point in my life, I can remember pretty vividly where I was at that point. And like, whether you understand or not, like, my problem, like where yours is anxiety about not being able to please everyone, it's like, for me, occasionally I'll get into that space where I feel like nobody wants me around and nobody cares for me, and that's depression. That is mental illness.
Okay.
Like doctors, it is certified as a mental illness.
Yes. Okay.
And doctor said, yeah, you have severe depression, or at least I did at the time. And it was just like, yeah, when I get that way, I feel like nobody cares about me. I feel like everybody wants me gone. I feel like if I disappeared, nobody would fucking care.
Right.
And then when that happens, yeah, I got suicidal. But at that point in my life, I was beginning to accept that and understand what was wrong with me. And the reason I was so blatant about it was because that was me
accepting
accepting it, and B, trying not to seem like I was in like one of those people just begging for attention.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I don't know why at the time I didn't respect you for it. It was, for some reason, when you did it, it just like annoyed me, and I'm not really sure why, because you did it in a good way, to be honest with you. Like, you did it in a fine, you didn't do it like, yeah, sigh, you know, type in me, sigh, whatever. You didn't do that shit.
Right. What I was trying, like, at that time, I was beginning the process of accepting it and moving on with my life and growing. And what I was trying to do was not seem like some weakling who just wanted attention. I wanted to come off like, yeah, I know what's wrong with me. This is what is wrong with me. I don't necessarily need help all the time. I'm not asking for your help. I'm just making a conversation saying, yeah, this is what's wrong with me.
Okay, absolutely.
It's like if someone just in casual conversation with you was like, yeah, I have diabetes. I have to keep insulin with me.
Yes.
It's something I have to do every day, just because I have diabetes. That's how I was trying to approach it.
Sure. For some reason, it just didn't translate well to me. But it might have been because, like, I don't know. I was trying to get used to the community. But ultimately, what I was gonna say is, in the long run, I'm glad like you are where you are. First off, alive, but second off, like, you know, you're surrounded by it right now as we speak. Let's see how many we got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, like, it's 8 friends.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're a part of a community, and I'm glad, because it sounded like at the time you weren't.
I certainly was not.
Right, and I'm glad. Like, you know, I'm not gonna say like, oh, it was all me or anything like that, but like, honestly, I think, you know, when I brought you in, Leon honestly took you off, and he helped you the most, I would say, because he showed he showed you FF14. He spent a lot of time in calls with you, and I think Mark also too had a special place.
Well, Leon introduced me to Mark, and then Mark and I took to each other pretty well.
Sure. Okay, absolutely, yeah, and that's great. You know, like, I just wanted everyone to. I like it when everyone fits into the community. Like, is he here or is he Monta? Yes, Monta's here. Like, I knew him when I first met Monta. He's a fucking cool ass guy, and I couldn't force him into the community, but he obviously likes what he's seeing, and he likes what he heard, and he liked what he was being with. So here he is right now. He's hanging out with us. He's a part of the gang, I would say, and I'm glad. Maybe he wasn't in a community before, besides AOV, but I'm not sure if that counts, because that's like super huge. I don't know. Hey.
There's some common names in AOV, but yeah, it's kind of big.
Yeah, like, I'm not saying it to be like rude, but like when there's so many people in there, it's hard to, like, you know, like, have an identity, kinda.
Yeah, the server population fluctuates between 30 and 40, and not all the users are always on at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you hit it pretty well on the head. At that point in my life, I was desperately looking for some group to feel like I could belong with.
And now you have two. You have your real life fighting game, which whatever, coworkers, if
I
that's the
actually
best.
have more than I can keep up with. Like
Good.
I've got my college buddies, I've got you guys, I've got another online friend group, and my fighting game buddies
Excellent.
in real life.
Good. No, good. I mean, I don't know if it helped your social skills. It must have, to an extent, like meeting
Oh, yeah.
people. Yeah. So that's great. But you see, and to go back to your original question, do I think depression is a mental illness?
I mean, I think we've worked through that one.
We
pretty well.
did, but I want to make one more point. Like,
Okay.
and,
Sure
and
thing.
this is something that ruins it for me. This is a total Pat thing to say. Do you and feel free to please call bullshit on me if what you think I'm saying is absolutely wrong.
Okay.
I feel like depression and anxiety, and I know I have anxiety myself. I know I admitted it, but I feel like depression and anxiety are being tossed around very lightly these days. Do you think I'm wrong?
So, it is unfortunate that, okay, due to, like, I have looked at the medical records, the cases of actual medical anxiety that have been diagnosed by doctors, anxiety and depression, they're two separate things, but cases of anxiety and depression diagnosed by doctors have gone up astronomically in the last 10 years. That being said, because that's become more popular because of those increase in diagnosed cases, it's become a more popularized term, even when it's not a diagnosed case.
Exactly.
So, to your point, they are being tossed around more lightly. They're becoming more popular terms.
Yes.
Which is both good and bad. It's good because it causes some people that actually have like one of those two mental disorders to think, hey, like maybe I should actually go to the doctor and have myself diagnosed for these things. Like that's the good part of it, because it's pushing people to go get themselves diagnosed more. Because like if you look back, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, you would just have greatly higher suicide rates because people would have medical depression or anxiety and they would just fucking kill themselves because they thought they were freaks of society.
Right.
But because depression and anxiety are becoming more normalized, people who actually have severe cases of them are getting diagnosed and getting the help they need, which is good. The bad thing is you get cases of people thinking, like, and it happens a lot with teenagers, and it just happens to be that, like, our group, like the online community sort of thing, is just popular with that sort of age range, and that's the demographic we attract, like AO especially. But
Yeah.
like you and I are on like the upward end of the age demographic that we attract.
Okay. Yeah.
And it just those terms like, and it does come with that teenage age, like that adolescent to teenage age is when you're growing up and figuring out who you are and how you can fit into society. Like that has some depressive moments and anxiety moments in it, and that causes a lot more people to think that they have that mental illness when they actually don't.
Yeah, I 100% get what you mean, and that's a double-edged sword because, yeah, you're right. It helps people who actually do have it, and it makes it kind of a joke at the same time.
Yeah.
To that end, though, sorry.
Personally,
yeah,
I really hate the whole meme like "kill yourself, kill myself." Like, it makes me really like fume inside a little bit because I hate that is getting normalized to a degree, because there are serious cases like that, and serious cases where people need to get help for things like that.
Yeah.
And it really like makes me upset. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it makes me genuinely really angry when I see someone memeing about kill yourself or kill myself, because those are actual serious things.
Yeah, I don't
that we are normalizing now.
I don't meme that. Meme that because, like, personally, not only do I not think it's terribly creative, because it's not, guys, it's not creative, and looking at you, Lemon, or whatever, haha, shout out. It's not very creative, and it's just not tasteful. Like if I want to like insult somebody or just like say something, I don't know. I think the N-word is way better than just saying kill yourself. I know whatever. Like I know I'm terrible, whatever. But I don't know. I think kill yourself is just like really distasteful, especially with the people we're with. You know, because it could very well happen. We were just talking about a certain somebody. You know.
This is why I hate it when someone does that, because like, sure, you call someone the N-word, well, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
it's insulting, but like at least that is not long-term harmful and potentially very dangerous.
Especially
Like-
to someone who isn't black.
Exactly.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, so the N-word is just a word.
Exactly.
It is not describing a situation. It is not normalizing any sort of, like, the only reason we think the N-word is radical is because people say it's radical.
Yeah.
That's fine. Whatever. But the idea of like I'm serious here, like say memeing kill yourself / kill myself, we're normalizing that.
Yeah.
We are like the people who do that are normalizing that behavior, and that is very scary.
No,
That
it's
is
toxic.
Incredibly scary
Sure.
for someone who does have that mental disorder and is actually thinking about it. Having that be normalized is really, really a slippery slope and very scary.
No, absolutely. I mean, you know, if anybody has 2 cents, you know, feel free to interrupt me and Zach, like, you know, whatever. But no, I absolutely agree.
I mean, I do, but that's different.
Well, what?
I have a video that probably answers this all. I'll wait till you finish listening to everybody.
No, you can go ahead if you wanna. Floor's open.
It'll sound like a dick, so I want to wait.
You want to wait till what? The topic is ended?
Yeah, right before it ends.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
I mean, if you mean
As soon
specific,
as you guys stop talking about it, yeah.
well, if you mean specifically the kill yourself thing, I don't really have much to say. I was gonna move on to something else, but
I was gonna say one more thing about it.
go ahead. Go ahead.
So, I'll just give an example of like, think of someone like a, I don't know, 15, 16-year-old who actually does have major depressive disorder, which is the medical term for it.
Okay.
And is feeling suicidal and wants to just come online to forget about it, maybe cheer themselves up by playing with their friends. And someone just memes kill yourself because they didn't like a joke he said or something like that.
Wait, hold on.
Like,
Hold on. Did someone just try interrupting you? Or like not
Yeah.
interrupting, but saying something? If you have something to say, go ahead. Oh, okay. I don't know what that was. Go on.
it sounded like Monto was saying something.
Yeah, I thought so too. Mata?
I guess not.
I'm just being dumb. I just said hi to BTF.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, go on. Sorry.
But like, imagine that, because when you do have major depressive disorder, everything hits you harder. Even something that logically you know doesn't mean anything hits you harder, hits you emotionally. That is how that disorder works.
Yeah. So you're saying, you know, someone like me
Like-
wouldn't get it. I understand.
I'm just explaining how that disorder
Yeah.
works.
No. Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah.
So let's say someone like who has that disorder and is actually feeling borderline suicidal comes on, they just want to play with their friends, they want to cheer themselves up. Like say, look, they make a bad joke or something, and somebody like says, "Kill yourself." That can have really, really grave implications to the person who actually is feeling borderline suicidal, that the person who said "kill yourself" doesn't realize because it's been normalized.
Right.
Because that phrase has been normalized. That's the sort of situations that I fear might happen.
I mean,
I know that's an extreme situation,
no.
but
Absolutely.
it's possible.
Well, I always try to think of the extreme. I think of the worst situation because it could happen. Anything could happen.
Exactly.
That it's a good point. I don't really have much to say about it other than like I don't know. It's distasteful. I never understood it. I understand it's a hot, spicy meme right now. It's the go-to, but I feel like the people who use that kind of stuff don't. I don't think they probably don't think they don't actually mean it. Of course, like I'm not gonna say that Lemon, like you know, when he
Even
says
if
that
they
he
don't
means
mean it, the point being is that someone could think they mean it
Sure.
because they're not in the right mind.
Well, I'm sure Lemon's a great guy. He's a very generous guy. I'm sure he would never do that to like someone outside of our friend group. or anything like that. And I would hope that that's not common. That people don't do. I mean, if you know for a fact people do that, like outside of people they know, that those people should feel really bad. But like I know out of our group of friends, VNO especially, nobody means it.
Well, I worry it might even happen within a group of friends. Like we were just talking about how we worry it came on and he was actually, we don't know him that well. What if he actually has some disorder and was feeling suicidal and just somewhere out of the blue, Lemon, I'm saying Lemon because he does it the most, said kill yourself and then and took it to heart. It could happen.
You see, and then when you say that, when you bring up the hypothetical situation, right away my fucking robotic mind goes, it was. I mean, we were literally just talking about it, and I don't want to say names because I'm actually recording this, but I'll bleep that out. But I don't want to say names, but if it was gonna happen for that, it was gonna happen for something else, and we come back full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the quote was literally, if it wasn't that, it would be the prom date, the prom night date saying no. You know what I mean? And then and that immediately, I know you don't want to hear. I know nobody wants to hear. I'm a dick, but it immediately makes me think you were weak. It was gonna happen. I don't feel bad. That's my go-to.
I mean, you don't really have to feel bad for him. You have to feel bad for just life in general, I guess.
You mean the state of our fucking society?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, if somebody actually comes to a point that they think a random haha kill yourself joke is enough to actually make them go and kill themselves.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that when you feel that way, because I know how this disorder works, is that when you feel that way, random haha jokes don't register as random haha jokes. They register as real things. That is how the disorder works.
Yeah. Well, I guess so.
That's true.
That's why it's dangerous to normalize extreme jokes like that.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. I think I don't have anything more to say. Do you, Zach? About that?
Not about that specifically. The only thing I was just going to mention to you, Kron, is that now that you're becoming more aware of this, I think it's a good time to catch yourself in moments exactly like that, where you're like, wait, my go-to response is not necessarily helpful, and I want to be helpful because I want to please everyone.
Sure.
Like I'm doing a logic chain with you here because I know you'll understand it.
Yes. No, you're right. You're right.
I want to be helpful. I want to please everyone. Reacting the way I am to this situation is not helpful and is not pleasing to everyone. Therefore, it is not making me happy.
You're right. I feel like a complete asshole for saying what I did, and I feel like an asshole for standing by such beliefs. And I've had terrible moments like that where I myself am incredibly illogical. I already told you. You already know about my anxiety. You guessed it.
Yep.
You were spot on. And I've had moments in real life, like in the past before I met you guys, like I've collapsed emotionally in front of my real life friends, in front of Nicole or my ex, or I've just had moments like that, and I used to get teased for it because it came off pathetic. And I know Anthony, my real life friends, they had one specific meme from me just collapsing over the phone or something like that. It happened. It happens. Mm-hmm. Everyone has weak points, so I can't even say I'm no better than everybody else. That's what I'm trying to make clear, is I'm no better than everybody else. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to justify anything. So if we can move on from that, Leon, you have something to say?
Actually, never mind. It's good. We can just move on.
You sure, dude?
Yeah, because the way I see it is completely different. This is just kind of actually retarded.
No, we'll go on. Speak your mind.
Zyke is basically saying we're supposed to police ourselves how we act and treat people because people have these disorders that we have no idea knowing. The way I see it is that we have doctors, we have specialists who's trained in these things. This is their job. If you have a problem, go to the doctor. Then I acknowledge you have a problem. If you go around saying all this shit, just saying it's tossing it around like it's candy, then no, I'm not gonna buy it. I don't care if it's making me sound like a dick. I'm not buying your shitty ass attitude. You go to the doctor, you get a note, and then you tell me you have a problem. Until then, no.
Well, what you mean? Basically, what you're saying is
everything about this, this whole topic.
Okay, but can you? So let me pitch you an example here. I'm not trying to contest you. I'm just trying to understand. So let's just say, right, like you never met me before. Hi, my name's Kron. I don't know. I'm really depressed. Are you just gonna be like,
I would 100% not interact with you at all.
okay, but not interact with me? All right, fine. So let's say we were in a static, and like I
Okay.
don't know, I don't know, I died. I died, and I cursed everybody out or something. I don't know. And when people ask me what the hell happened, I say I'm sorry, I have crippling. I can't even say that like properly without thinking of fucking eye
Okay,
dubs.
if you
But-
actually have it, a doctor has diagnosed this, then I mean,
But-
I have
no,
to say,
but-
I'm sorry, you have the condition. But until then, I shouldn't have to go around policing myself, acting a certain way to please. No,
So are you saying you would act like me immediately with no
I would
regrets?
act myself and not go around. If like you have, let's say you actually have depression, I had no way of knowing until you showed proof. But before you showed that proof, I was addicted to you. Like, oh, you're just being, like you were saying, weak.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna police myself for every goddamn instance of someone saying I'm gonna kill myself. I have depression. No, I'm gonna act myself and just move on.
I can understand where you're coming from. Yeah, I understand. The reason why I'm feel free to chime in, anybody, please, because this is an open discussion. But I'll just say real quick, the reason why I'm different than you, Leon, is because I understand what you're saying, and I want to agree with you. But the reason why I'm acting different is because I'm in charge of like a community now, and if I do that, then I have to basically have to watch my steps now, and my
You're
anxiety.
free to do that. That's fine.
Yeah, but
That's okay.
I'm just trying to explain why, because I understand exactly what you're saying, and I respect it. I respect it entirely, and I'm not gonna fault you for that. But some people, even though they think that, now they have to be careful where they step, because
And that's this piece. That's it's the same thing with comedy. But comedians have to watch what they say because they might trigger somebody. Like, this is all getting, this PC culture is just getting stupid.
so you mean like the whole well, we can use the obvious go to, but
You can say anything. You can say gay. People make jokes about rape and anything, anything, dude. If someone gets triggered, oh, holy shit, we gotta get the police involved. We gotta get the government involved. We gotta make laws about it. No, that's not how this shit is supposed to work.
That's not what I'm saying people to do, Leon. That's
No,
not what
I'm talking about Kron. No, I'm replying what he's saying. But what you were saying in general is that, like with Kron's, the way he was handling things, it was logically right. He was, when he first met you at the beginning of this conversation, his way of thinking is different from your way of thinking. He wasn't very emotional, right? So
right.
my way of taking is that until I actually know you have the problem, I'm not going to indulge the problem. No.
Sure, that I don't see any flaw with that specifically. The only thing I'm saying in response, I have to say in response to that, and this is not me saying like your way of thinking is invalid or anything. That's not what I'm postulating. The only thing I'm saying is that I fear, I get worried about society in general normalizing harmful jokes, and I understand that's a really weird and vague line that can be muddied. I understand that. That's the whole problem with PC culture and things like that. I understand your point of view. Maybe, and I will admit, like, this is maybe a specific thing of mine, that for me specifically, I have strong feelings about suicidal stuff. Sure, because I've been there. But I can, when it comes to things like trigger warnings in books or things like that, like I understand. I understand where you're coming from. We shouldn't have to police ourselves. I think it should be the role of the person who is experiencing the problem to say they are experiencing a problem. Please don't act this way around me. And I think people can be respectful of that. And I think that ties into what you're saying as well, Leon. Like, if someone were to come up, like, I know you don't say it much anyways, but let's just say hypothetically, you were someone that used the kill yourself, kill myself meme a lot, right? And someone came up to you and said, hey, I have been diagnosed with this severe depression, major depressive disorder. I can be like, I get semi-suicidal at times. Could you please not make those jokes around me? Like, you would respect that, right?
I mean, yeah, I don't I try not to do anything too demeaning anyway, because that ties into pride. I really have a bad habit of it, but I try not to, make anyone feel bad in general. And yeah, if someone was seriously asking me that, I probably would agree and say, yeah, I can do it.
See, then I think that's probably the best solution we can reach for that problem.
Yeah, but this is gonna, now here I go. I'm gonna bring it back full circle. And this is what I was getting at before, because I feel like it's being tossed around so lightly, and this ties back in with when I met you, Zyke. It's being tossed around so lightly that, frankly, and I guess this ties in with what Leon's saying too. I don't believe it. Like when someone first, like when I met you, like when you told me that, I was just like, I don't believe that you're actually upset. I think you're just weak, and I think you're going for attention. That's because it's being tossed around so lightly.
Yeah, that is the unfortunate thing about it.
Yes, it's just very hard to gauge when it's an actual serious issue or someone just, especially like in real life, you see the person, you can interact with them, but on the internet, it's a whole different story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So 90% of the time, I don't buy it. But if I saw you face to face, I could shed some emotion. I could try to help. But on the internet, it's fucking almost impossible.
You see,
It's unfortunate.
that's why I respect, and I'm sure you feel the same way, Leon, which is crazy because me and you were just expressing our radical views, especially in contrast to Zyke. That's why me and you, when we met Apple Bloom, it blew us away, because Apple Bloom didn't come at us like that. He just was depressed. He didn't say he was depressed. He just was. He was lonely. You knew it. He was always upset. He always wanted to be by himself. He never asked for attention. So I believed him. And it was true.
Well, I find it interesting. I never specifically asked for attention. I just said my situation, and you fucking... Like, obviously we're friends now, but at the time, you were like, you're retarded.
No, but here's the thing. When I first met you, you said, yeah, I tried to kill myself. Immediately, my first thought is, oh, that's a fishhook for a attention conversation. But with Apple Bloom, you didn't meet him, so I know, like, you can't. It's hard for us to just, like, express it. But Leon, you know what I mean, right? Where it wasn't that he said he was depressed. It's show don't tell. Like in movies, show don't tell, and we believe you. He just was. Like Leon, he was legitimately depressed.
Like I had to go out it was weird because I didn't normally do it. I had to go out of my way to try to interact, and I would make every conversation. I would try to do I guess it's also biased when you like someone and you care about them. Obviously, you're more empathetic towards that person than someone you don't know. But I had to actually go out and try to make an effort for him to do things.
But what I'm trying to tell you, Leon, is that me and you, he didn't bait us in with like lines or whatever, like, oh, I'm suicidal, yada yada. Because I'm sure that if he did do that, me and you would have looked the other way. He just was upset, and it was sad.
He was. I wouldn't say he was the exception, but he was the 10% over the 90%, at least from on the internet, and they seeing that.
Yes, it was a very rare case of holy shit. Because I felt awful. I didn't know how to make him feel better, and it was to the point where, just like Zyke was saying, hey, I'm not qualified to support you. When I got to that point, instead of being prideful or logical, I actually just stopped talking to him because I didn't know what to do. I was so prideful that I didn't want to admit or be rude and say that I stopped caring about trying to help you. I give up. I just stopped talking to him, and he just figured it out on his own. I had no humility. I couldn't do it. I don't know about you, Leon. I don't know what you ended up doing in the end.
He just stopped talking to me in general, so I just said fuck it.
Yeah. Did you have any point to bring off of that, Zyke?
Well, this is going back to a personal instance, but you may have forgotten, Kron, the very next thing I said after, like, yeah, I have depression, I've been suicidal at times. The very next thing I said after that was, I'm not just trying to get attention from this, I'm just putting it out there. That was the very next thing I said.
I think because of you saying that, I respected you a tiny bit more, which is why I didn't stop talking to you immediately. I forgot what we were talking about. I think I tried talking to you about VNO off the bat, and we made you mod really soon after that. But believe me, Zyke, if you just said that and then kept going on about being suicidal, there's a high chance you may not be here, because I would have stopped trying to care about you immediately.
No, the whole point was I wasn't trying to go on about how I was suicidal.
Yeah.
I was trying to put it up front. Like, yeah, I've been suicidal. I have clinical depression.
Right.
This is who I am. I'm trying to make friends.
Well, I think that's
I
how.
was trying to put that up front.
Yeah. No.
But apparently it rubbed off the wrong way.
No. I mean, the fact that I stayed talking to you means it worked out. Because if it wasn't, if I didn't respect you, I would have just like literally said, all right, well, I gotta go. Because I remember Temp was there, and me and Temp were like, this guy's weird. But you know, when you started talking like more logically, I kind of clicked with you quicker.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just, you know, still the whole point is I just met you, and I told you that I didn't care about you killing yourself, or whatever. Or wanting to
But that's the way it looks like when people say that for the first time being them. It's just, at least for me, it's just your brain says, "Oh, this is attention. I'm not gonna bait this out. I'm not gonna continue this. And just move on."
Right. Wow, we talked a lot.
I mean, I think the bottom line question beneath all of this is how strongly should we question someone before we help them if they say they need help?
Unfortunately, to me, first impressions are huge. I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Personally, I'm answering for myself here, so you know, feel free. Whoever wants to answer after me, go ahead. Remember when Xander came out, and he was like a super huge troll, and he was just super trying to know everybody. And I answered with, "Hey, buddy, you want to have a voice call? I want to have a chat with you," and we did. And I just invited him to call and whatever. I was like, "Yo, what's up? How you doing?" Whatever. And I just got to know him. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. With you, Zyke, I gave you you immediately saved yourself from your bait. So I didn't really have to give you the benefit of the doubt because I liked you basically after. I respected you. Are you asking me at what point does it take for someone, the way they're acting, for me to believe that they have depression?
I mean, I'm not like asking you specifically. I'm just putting it out there as something to think about for the future and going forward for all of us. Is just like, at what point do we help someone who say they need help?
It's
like, at what point do we decide that
are you saying this when they're using the show don't tell rule, or it's like they're just being the press? Are you saying them actually asking for help?
The former, because it sounds like you're really receptive to the latter.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you were just talking about how Apple Bloom, it's like you didn't even care at all about like them like being whiny or whatever. Like, you just immediately went to help, regardless of how you say you perceive people who act that way.
The reason I know it's hard, and the only person who can actually agree with what I'm saying is Leon, because he talked to him. Me and Leon were like the only people who actually, I guess, like tried to help him, is because he didn't. I'm trying to make you understand. He didn't act sad. He was sad. He didn't say he was sad. He just was. Everything about him just screamed, "I'm miserable," and that was it. And you know, it took me asking questions to find out what's wrong with him. It wasn't that he told me. It was that I asked. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the thing to keep in mind is that people show misery and sadness in different ways, so that it might be just something to think about for the future, that to keep your mind and your mind a little bit more open about, is someone actually miserable if they're acting this way? Because for me, when I was miserable, I was fucking straightforward because I wanted help. Right. I knew what was wrong with me. I knew I needed help. So I was straightforward because I knew I was miserable.
Right.
So I think it would be good for not just Ukron, but for everybody in the future to like keep that in mind And I'm not trying to police everyone and say how you should live your life. I know that's how it's coming across, but that's not what I'm trying to. I'm just trying to get put a question out there and get people to think.
You're putting food for thought. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just putting food for thought, and just keep in mind that people show these signs in different ways. Some people are straightforward about it. Some people just act miserable and don't, and just are reclusive. And obviously, some people are fakers and just wanting attention.
But here's a problem. Because of those fakers, and because it's being tossed around so lightly by like YouTubers or like whatever, like, oh, I have anxiety, guys, I can't do this to that. Like it just comes off that way, especially when they go and say it. Like, I mean, for example, like when you were like, oh, I know you have anxiety, it's very obvious, and I'm like, wait, and I asked you, how do you know? And you told me. You ended up being right, but I didn't ever say it. I never told people about that. You just knew. So when people go and say that they're this and that, I said this before, but my first thought is, wow, I don't believe you. You're ruining it for everybody. Because it's being tossed around so lightly. So when you're saying people show it in different ways, like you were obviously being blunt and direct when I first met you, you were handling it that way. Unfortunately, society and the internet and media and fakers have ruined that for me. So when Apple Bloom came across in this unique way, I just believed him. So to answer your question, when do I think it's time to I believe you said, when do I believe somebody? That was the question. I believe them when I care. I believe them when they've swayed me with just their emotions. I believe them when I see them being sad, not when they tell me they're sad.
Well, I think that I know this is getting into the realm of me telling you how to live your life, and that's not what I want to do.
Sure,
but I think it would be good to be open about things like that and keep maybe a more open mind. I understand it's been normalized. I understand, it's harder to tell, but maybe give people, I don't know, like 2 minutes of a shot instead of 0 shot at all, just because they're blunt.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You're 100% right. I go back to just trying to justify it by saying I tried in AO, and I got sick of it. But you're right. You're not wrong. Leon, did you want to answer his question about when do you think you should help somebody?
I mean, it's different case by case scenario, and it's obviously biased towards the people you like. But it just comes down, I'm gonna act the way I think is right, and I'm gonna do it the way I think is right. That's just it.
Fair. That's fair. Okay. Well, clearly, Leon, me and you see sort of eye to eye because we both ended up believing and helping and liking Apple Bloom, and me and you didn't even talk about it. Like
everyone else who said that shit was like, it was open that most of them were fakers. But the way Apple Bloom acted it was just, he didn't care if anybody noticed him. He didn't care if anyone talked to him. He was just there, and it was weird.
Yeah. But what I'm getting at is me and you both felt sympathetic towards him, but the crazy part is me and you didn't talk about it at the time because we didn't know that you know what I mean? We only discovered after the fact, dude, you knew Apple Bloom? I knew him too.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, so we just both, it wasn't like we both saw it and we both discussed it. We just both felt that way genuinely when we met him, and we didn't know about we didn't know about each other knowing about it until way after.
I don't know. It's just you just have to act the way you think is right. You can't tell somebody what to do.
I mean, personally, just to give my 2 cents into, since y'all two have shared how you think about things. If I see someone, direct or indirect, that I feel is having that rough, depressive state, I give them a shot. I try to help as I can. I always say first, right off the bat, I'm not the best guy for this. I'm not really an emotional person. But I will help you with logic. And usually, and this is going back a little full circle here, if people are just wanting attention and are fakers, they'll stop talking after that.
What do you mean?
If
you mean, okay, I know what you mean. You mean they'll stop talking after you say you're not situated for the...
I'm not best like I'm not going to be able to give you much emotional support. I'll give you logical support instead,
Right. Right.
and help you like discover yourself. If someone's like a quote faker and just looking for attention, then they'll usually stop after that. And that's why I was saying that might be something good for you to do, Kron, because that might be a way for you to
oust
put
these people.
A, to oust these people, and B, to like put a foot forward to help people who actually need it.
Okay. You're absolutely right. The only
Because
go on.
I can almost guarantee that the people who actually need it will say, fine, I will take that help over nothing at all.
Okay.
Because that's what I would do if I was in that state and someone said, and you said that to me when I was depressed, I would say, I appreciate the help. Any interaction from anyone would be fantastic.
You know what? You're absolutely right. The only reason I would do anything otherwise is out of hate or pride, and I'll go ahead and say that is a completely scumbag thing to do. But that's just
well. Then
what
I
would
think
happen.
if you don't want to be that way, just just be mindful of your hate and or pride.
Sure. No, I have to. Your advice is sound, especially now that I'm trying to interact with so many people. And
yeah, especially since you're a community manager and you recognize that you want to please everyone.
Yeah. No, I've always known that. I just didn't want everybody else to know it. But I guess it's I come off pretty transparent.
Oh yeah.
My bad. Yeah, no, I think that
well,
was...
I'm also pretty good at reading people.
Sure. Sure. I just, I don't know, some people... I'm pretty prideful, so,
Yeah.
getting exposed like that is just like, oh, fuck. But, whatever, whatever. I'm not gonna, whatever. Yeah, that was good. Should I stop
Yeah.
should I stop the recording?
I think that's about all that talk. Yeah, I think we're about done with that talk.
Is that podcast number 3?
I don't think it was long enough.
You...
Pretty sure it's
Dude.
not a good subject to do a podcast on.
We could.
I
It
think
tied into a little bit of stuff.
it tied into managing the community.
I guess.
It's a good public service announcement, I think. Telling people not to say kill yourself.
Yeah.
Stop the memes, please. They're not that funny. They're really not,
Yeah.
and they're not creative. Like that's my main problem with it, is that it's not creative. Not that I think it's morally wrong, because I do think that, but it's just not creative. Like, come on, it's such like a bandwagon thing to do. Oh, kill
Sadly,
yourself.
not everyone.
Put some effort on it at least, right?
Yeah, fuck. If you're gonna say something offensive, put some effort. I know that's such a scumbag thing to say, but oh god, guys, come on, you're better than that. Jesus.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Fuck. Zero.
KYS, keep yourself safe.
Totally.
That was good, Manta.
Doing the
yourself
Lord's work,
safe.
Manta.
What?
Blood for the lion gods.
It finally paid off because the line got fixed. Or the wall got fixed.
Yeah. And speaking...
Our blood sacrifices finally paid off.
You know what's funny? I was doing an instance, and I was so riveted with the conversation, I just